Welcome to a Real Man Wood podcast. This is Chris Liss, your host, and I am joined by my co-host, Dalton Del Don of Yahoo Sports. What's going on, man?
What's up, Liss? I literally have the Warriors parade on in the background as I'm talking to you. So I do promise, I will make one promise to you. This is the last time I will be the insufferable Warriors fan for this year. So at least you have that. But we are champs. The sweep of the Cavs. On a side note real quick, do you realize the Cavs went 4-0 against the number 1 seed and 8-10 against the rest of the league in the postseason? That's kind of a funny aside. But anyway, I'm sure you're excited. Do you have any thoughts on the Warriors' third championship in the last 4 years?
No, I really don't.
No, okay, that's good. All right, let's move on then. Okay. Anyway, I noticed last week I don't even think you posted the video, so I wore my shirt one more time. But I understand that, yeah. But so
you know why I didn't post the video? I'll be honest with you. I think it came out fine. It was that we went like deep into politics and we said a lot of shit. And I can edit the audio pretty easily in GarageBand, and I try to trim it. And I usually just post the video unedited. So if those of you want to see the totally Real Man unedited podcast, you can always go to the YouTube video that I post on Twitter. But because we kind of went into some, it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't even something that like would get us in trouble. It was just sort of like I kind of went off on some tangents that were kind of boring in my opinion. So I cut them out substantially on the audio version, and I just felt like I didn't want to just post it in the video, so I just didn't post it. Gotcha.
So it wasn't a technical issue. I realized, I actually thought that might be the reason. But all right, dude. So I have a bunch of things to throw at you. I'll start with some baseball stuff. This is actually, I should have asked you this last week. But it was topical, and I just want your opinion of the Luke Heimlich going undrafted. You know who that is, obviously, the guy who convicted child molester.
Oh, I know the Heimlich maneuver, but I didn't realize it had to involve that.
Right, I believe that's how it's pronounced. But so he was like rated like a top 55 type. A guy would have been drafted early if not for this, which is obviously a horrible thing that he said guilty to. But he now says he got bad advice from his attorney. And when he committed this act, he was 15 or 16, so you could consider that a child. But he did it to a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. Heinous, indefensible act, but served his time. I don't know. What are your thoughts? It's very interesting. I mean, not interesting.
I didn't even know that until you brought this up. I didn't even know about this.
Oh man, really? Oh, you didn't even know about this?
No,
yeah.
So
those are the basics. But it happened to his niece, and so this is his brother and his brother's wife are pretty adamant that he did it, and they don't speak. So I mean, what do I mean, he served his time. He did probation, and this only came out recently before the draft because Oregon had to report it because a registered sex offender, and not one team drafted him. They thought he might go, anywhere from round 3 on, and they have like 40 rounds in MLB.
Right. There's certain things you can come back from and certain things you can't, and this is one of them that you can't. And it's kind of sad that he's only 15, but the truth is, like, if you're 15 and you're like doing stuff with that age kid, you're probably seriously damaged, like beyond, like, I don't know how you get out of that, if you're that messed up. It's not like he was 16 and was with a 14-year-old girl or something, that's like, statutory wrong, but this is just, nobody does that. I guess somebody does do it, but no regular person does it. So no, I'm not surprised he wasn't drafted. Should he be able to say, hey, I served my time, I was young, I made a mistake? Yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Just kill those people? I mean, they have to be able to get a job, live their lives, but I don't know, man. It's a bad. Nobody wants those people around. It's bad.
No, I mean, it's not just like, obviously they're going to get bad PR if someone drafted them, and that's part of the equation here, but it's also just, just the sense that it's a privilege, I guess, to be a baseball player, right? So it's like you may have served your time so you can, be in society, but not necessarily. That's part of the thing you're going to have to, delve with.
It's not a privilege to be a baseball player anymore. It's a privilege to, do anything. Be an
insurance salesman. That's the counter that I heard, and that's why I wanted to hear you say.
No, I mean, I don't think it's that. I mean, basically, like, if you, like, assaulted somebody and then you did your time, then you got out, like, you're a felon, so it's going to be hard to get a job. But if you're really good at baseball or some sport and you can, help your team win, then I think people need to, forgive a person and move on after they've done their time. But I think the problem with this is it's just one of those things that, like, it's so messed up that, like, you don't trust the person going forward, and B, anything that happens to kids, like, even if somebody, like, beat up a 6-year-old who's 15, they probably wouldn't get a chance also, So I feel like it's just one of those things. I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate. You can't just, those people still have to live the rest of their lives, but I don't blame, if I'm running a team, I'm not really looking to draft that dude either.
Totally, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard. I thought you had heard of that. And I just seriously wanted your
guard.
I wanted your opinion.
I mean, that's what you are so interested in to read about during your week when between these podcasts.
Yeah, I only do it for the podcast. Yeah. So I have a few things. Sticking with baseball now, on a lighter note, I will call you out that I did laugh out loud. I think it was probably the radio, obviously, when you said Chris Davis's WAR is so bad, it should be called peace.
Yeah,
so I wanted to highlight that here because I thought that was funny.
Thank
because
you. Jeff Erickson was trying to mock and ridicule me for that pun, and I just wanted on the record that other people did laugh at it. And Jeff Erickson, by the way, some of your puns are beneath, or even beneath you. I mean, some of Jeff Erickson's puns are so bad. It's just unbelievable how bad they are. And yet he turned around and mocked me for that high-quality pun. How dare he?
Right. Well, I thought it was fitting, too, because I brought up Cole Calhoun last week as just an example of historical futility.
Right.
But you factor in defense, and Chris Davis's WAR is, well, especially if he stays healthy, where Cole Calhoun did, or they made up an injury or whatever. Anyway, Davis is going to have a really historically bad season if this continues. I mean, just crazy bad. And he's like what, 33? He's not 40, right? I mean, this crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think Trump is making peace in North Korea. Chris Davis is like, hold my beer. I'll show you some peace.
Right.
Cole Calhoun's like, oh yeah, you think you can make peace? It's just it's 2018, the year of peace.
Right. Yeah. I'll get to that a little bit later. But the other topic of baseball is just Ohtani. I admit I was one of the guys who said, I think you kind of mocked people on the radio today, but I was one of the people saying, so that's why I passed on him. As soon as I heard, damaged UCL, I lowered my rankings, but man, I was like kicking myself. These last 2 months, I admit, I was like, no, I wish I had him. It wasn't like just wait for it. But I did remember, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happens when you pitch with a damaged UCL. These pitchers are already just waiting to get hurt anyway. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but Masahiro Tanaka, not to be like all racist on him just because he happens to also be Japanese, pitched with a partially torn UCL the last 3 years.
It's true.
It's very dangerous to lump pitchers from Japan together, pitchers from Cuba together. They don't do the same thing.
Well, and then Tanaka got hurt for weeks by trying to score in a sac fly in an interleague game. I mean, he can't just run 90 feet. Right. I mean, come on.
Well, here's the funny thing about Ohtani is that it's like they're babying him. I'm like, why aren't they letting that dude play outfield, steal bases, play every day when he's not pitching? I mean, come on, it's baseball. Right. He's 23. Like, let him loose. Like, this is so stupid. Oh, we can't possibly DH the day before he pitches. Why not? Let him play. Let the guy. And they babied him so much, and he's still probably getting Tommy John surgery.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. So you and I know, had no shares of him, and it sucks to see.
I have a share of him. I have a share of him in the keeper league for 45. I'm just going to flat drop him.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the
that
point?
Sucks. Yeah. Yeah. Another guy I want to ask you about, because I just saw that Saris did a column on Mad Bum, but I have not been able to read it. I know you were talking about him. Were you able to see that, or do you have any?
Yeah, I just retweeted
obviously, I'm a Giants guy, and I know you have him in the main event. We've been waiting on him, and the velocity's been a little down, but as a lefty, 90.5 is plenty fast. So I'm curious what Saris says.
He said the cutter isn't quite right, and he's the apparent velocity is a little bit off, meaning like he's not getting as much extension toward home plate. Mad Bum, as you know, is like 6'6", 6'5", whatever. And when he extends, shortens the distance between his release point and the batter. And between that and 91 as a lefty or whatever he was throwing last year, now he's throwing like 90.3, and the release point's a little off. I mean, it's a little, anytime. His
velocity's always down. Like most pitchers in April, his velocity's always down as a Giants fan.
Right.
At the beginning of the year, everyone questions. So maybe that's just his thing. It's always down, which this is the beginning of the year for him.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I mean, obviously you want to see your pitchers do well. I have Carrasco in the main event also, and he was terrible in the last 2 starts. He's just been a monster. So, it comes and goes. You look at like the Astros starters. They're so good. Patrick Corbin. You drafted Zach Godley for our League of Leagues. I told you not to draft that guy. And after 2 starts, it looked like he was doing great. But,
well, you were right about Taijuan Walker because he did far less damage.
He did far less damage. And, I thought Taijuan Walker would be a good, drop before the season to get more options for our team.
Right.
But, no, I mean, these pitchers like Patrick Corbin, they go amazing. They're amazing for a while, then they fall apart, and then they're amazing. And the elite pitchers, that like Max Scherzer and Kluber and Sale, it's just unbelievable that they're good for that long. And same with Kershaw until this year and last year. But I think Mad Bum is, hopefully he'll find it. I think he probably will.
Yeah, obviously I'm hoping as well. Do you have any other baseball stuff you wanna go over?
Not really, man. Our Puig Hoskins bet is getting close. I was kind of bummed. Hoskins broke his jaw with a foul ball and was out 10 days. And then he hit a home run his first game back. And I swear to God, he was heading to the minors if he hadn't broken his jaw. It was just that he got to reset a little bit. He went 0 for 3 yesterday with 2 RBIs, but I don't know, man. It's so funny because after April, that bet could not have been more lopsided. Puig was on the DL. He was batting like 1-something. Hoskins had like 6 home runs in like a month. He was like a 1,100 OPS. It looked like you were crushing. And now it's pretty close. And I think Hoskins is still ahead, but it's Puig is narrowing the gap.
Yeah, he's got. Yeah, I mean, I like Puig. I have shares of him too. I think he'll be better too. But yeah, Hoskins is definitely fallen off. But broken jaw. At least he's. I was worried there for a while he'd be out longer with that broken jaw. But I want to ask you about your moving on from baseball. The parlays versus what was it? Just straight up against the spread. You looked at the juice. You did it on the Roto Arcade. Roto Wire blog.
Yeah, I don't post on Roto Arcade. That's beneath me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So just simple. I just did the math. It just occurred to me, so I wrote it down. I was like, so you know how the regular rake works, doing against the spread bets. I mean, gambling is going to be legalized in some places, and we're going to be doing more of it probably. And so it's minus 110, and minus 110, as you know, means you have to risk 110 to win 100. So, if you want to put, if you want to pick a team against the spread, you like the Steelers minus 10 against the Raiders at home. You have to risk 110 to win 100. And what that means is that in order to just break even, not to lose any money, you need to win 52.38% of the time. And the easiest way to understand that is to think of it this way. If you made 100 $1 bets, okay, just you made 100 bets for $1 each, and so say you won 53 of them, right? You'd win $53, and then you lost 47, so you'd be up $6, right? But remember, you're risking 110 to win 100, so you're losing another 10%. So you lose another $4.70. So you're up $1.30, right? You won 53, you lost 51.70, 47 plus 470. Now, if you won 52 of the 100, you'd win $52, you'd lose $48, and you'd lose another $4.80. So you'd be down 80 cents if you won 52% of the time. You'd be up $1.30 if you won 53% of the time. It turns out the break even is 52.38. Does that make sense?
Yes, but okay. So, what is the conclusion though? Is that you get worse odds when you do parlays?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to go through the process to understand it. I mean, what do you just like show me the result?
Sorry. There's a lot of math.
Well, it's not that much math. It's just super simple.
Okay.
100 $1 bets. That's easy.
Sure.
You win 52. How much money do you win?
Right.
$52.
52. Yes. Okay.
How much money do you lose?
48.
But there's a rake. So how much money do you lose total?
Right. Well, you're saying.
Plus 10% of the 48. So 48 plus 480 is 52.80. Okay, so you're minus 80 at 52.
Yes.
At 53, you're plus 130. Okay, so you could see that it's somewhere between 52 and 53 is the break even. So it's 52.38. Now, if you win 50%, which is what you're expected to win, because every against the spread bet is a 50-50 bet, basically. You win 50, you lose 50, but then you lose 5 on the rake. So you're minus 5. That's your expected return on 100 $1 bets. It's minus 5, correct? Got that?
Yeah.
So the way the parlay works, and I'll just explain a parlay real quick. A parlay, you got to win both bets. Okay, you make 2 bets and you have to win them both. If you only win one, you lose. Okay, so if you bet the Steelers minus 10 against the Raiders, and then you bet the Chiefs minus 7 against the Chargers, both those teams have to cover. If either one does not cover, then you lose. Now, if one of them pushes, it's just a straight bet, but don't worry about that. So, the question is, is that a good bet? Well, or first off, what do you get if you win both bets? And you can do more than 2 teams, but let's keep it simple. So a 2-team parlay pays 2.6 to 1. Okay, do you know that? Yeah. So if you bet $20 in a 2-team parlay and you win, you're going to win $52, right?
Right.
So is that better or worse than betting, $20 to win $20 when you're doing minus 110? We already saw what the minus 110 on the straight bet was. It was you lose $5 every $100 you bet. Right. That's the expected return. If you just did the exact thing that you're supposed to do, which is win half the time. Well, because of parlay, you have to win 2 bets. Okay. Right. Each one is 50-50. So it's 25%, 50% of 50% that you win both, right? 50% to win one, and then having won one, you have a 50% chance to win the other. So it's 25%. So basically, you should be getting 3-to-1 odds, right? 75 to 25, 3-to-1. because you have a 25% chance to win. But you're only getting 2.6 to 1, right? That's what parlays pay out. So let's say you made 100 $1 parlay bets, okay?
Right.
Well, how many would you expect to win?
So you're saying 100. So so 25% is what you're saying?
Yeah, you'd win 25%. So how much money would you win on those 25 $1 parlay bets? You'd win $260 per bet.
Right.
So 25 times 260, 25 times 2.6 is 65 bucks as you win.
Yeah.
How many bets would you expect to lose? How many of those dollar bets would you expect to lose on your parlays?
75, right?
Right. So you win 65,
Right.
but you lose 75.
Right. Okay.
So what's your expected return on 100 $1 bets?
Right. What is it? What would it be? I mean, 90. So you're
Minus
losing
10.
what? Minus 10. So 90 instead of
65.
95, right? So it's 90 instead of 95 is what you're saying, right?
Yes. Or I wouldn't do it that way. I'd say your expected return is minus 10.
Right.
If you get just exactly what you're expected to do,
Right.
which is win 25 and lose 75, you win a quarter of the time, and then so you win 65 because you're getting paid 2.6 to 1 on the 25 that you win, and you lose 75 on the 75% of the times you lose, $1 each, and so you're down $10 after the 100 $1 bets. Whereas the other one you're down $5. So that's double the rake. I mean, it's insane. It's not like 10% more rake. It's literally 100% more rake. So why would anyone ever do a parlay? Under what circumstances?
I guess maybe add more. I mean, does it change it all if you add maybe with long shots?
Worse. I mean, it gets worse if you keep adding more legs to it. Yeah. So the reason you do a parlay is if there's correlation. So let's say instead of betting two separate games.
I never thought of that. I never thought of that when you said that. That makes sense. Yeah.
So imagine if you instead of betting two separate games, I bet the Steelers minus 10, but I bet the under. Okay. And I think, well, look, if, the only way the Raiders cover is if they go over, if this goes over, right? If the Steelers defense does well, forget it. The Raiders are not going to come close. So say, obviously I think the spread is 50-50, but I think if the Steelers cover, there's a 70% chance that it goes under. Let's just say I think that, okay? Well, now there's a 35% chance of the outcomes happening, not 25.
Right.
Right. And I get that. So even if there's a 33% chance of the outcomes happening, that's just 2 to 1, right? 66 to 33. So you only need 2 to 1 on a 33% chance. So if you think there's 33 or higher and you're getting 2.6 to 1 instead of 2 to 1, that's a big edge.
Right. I mean, obviously anything can happen. One thing can happen and the other come the opposite. But that makes sense. If
you're not saying it's 100, you're not saying it's 100% correlated. You're saying I think that if X happens, there's a 70% chance Y happens.
Right.
Viewed independently, it's just 50-50 for both. Right? It's like 25%.
No, I got you. So you're obviously only ever doing this in the same game situation.
I mean, unless it's like week 17 and like one team, if they win, the other team has nothing to play for or something, But basically, yes, correlation is what
Have you looked at the odds compared to teasers at all?
I know how teasers work, but I'm not sure how to calculate how those extra points actually affect your odds. So look, the way to do it is, let's say you got to win both sides of the teaser, both legs, right? And what do you get? 6 extra points, right?
Well, 6, 6.5, or 7, depending on the juice.
So basically, you would need like a little bit over 70% per leg of the teaser to make it work, right? Because 70 times 70 is 49. 7 times 7 is 49, right? So for a teaser to be worth it, you need to say with the 6 points, it's no longer a 50-50 bet. It's better than 70%.
Right. It need to be 70. Okay.
Right. So if you think it's only 65%, even with the 6 points added to the teaser, don't do it. But if you think you can get these things over 70%, both of them, then the teaser makes sense.
So calculating that is just far more subjective. Like what you think of you'd have to value the points, literally. You'd have to value the 6 points differently each time. So that's
you'd have to. I mean, somebody's probably come up with an algorithm for it. Like when the over is something, then the teaser's worth more because there's fewer points in the game, or whatever. I bet you there's some sharp out there that knows selectively when to do it. Certainly, the parlays work if you can work out whether there's a correlation between the total and the spread.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's independent of the team playing because the actual odds are going to tell you what the team is. So that makes sense for parlays. So totally different beast. Okay. Next, I'm going to ask you. I didn't know him or read him or watch him well, Anthony Bourdain, but man, that's brutal. I retweeted your tweet. It was a good one. What did you say again?
I just said it's jarring when the coolest person in the world kills himself.
Yeah, and I've been reading. Everyone seemed to love him. I read his original New Yorker piece and actually learned something. It was like written in 1999 or something. And man, just sad. All these people, the suicide rates are just up throughout this country, and it's just crazy. And I don't know. What are your thoughts? Were you a fan of his?
Yeah, I love the guy. I mean, whatever. I'm not like, it was jarring just because it was like this guy who seemed to be the kind of person that you want to be, like an authentic,
Right.
authentic person. You know, I love, you and me both love like ethnic food. We love that kind of thing. I've been traveling a lot, but he was traveling to like the ends of the earth, like very, interesting places, and eating like just real foods that have been passed down for generations, and connecting with the people. And yet was kind of like a badass. He took some like peyote in one of the things. He wrote some pretty sharp political commentary on. He said when you go to Cambodia, you can't help but want to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands. And then later on, he said, "I've regretted many things that I've written, but that's not one of them." And if you recall, like a certain candidate in the last election cited Henry Kissinger as her mentor. And so, I respected Anthony Bourdain. He was not a nutless monkey. Seemed like a real man. And so my first thought, I was like, what the fuck? You see people who are like obvious frauds like yourself, No, but you see people who are obvious frauds, and not like you expect them to kill themselves, but you're like, this person's suffering. Like they're like faking it to be this fake person that they are. You see people on the news and all sorts of weird people like doing stuff that's like clearly not what a human should be doing. But it seemed like he had found something very authentic. And so you usually assume that someone doing something authentic and succeeding and making lots of money and being, well regarded in that way would be happy. That's why it's so jarring. He's doing what everybody sort of hopes to do, like do what they really enjoy and do it authentically. He's not like sucking up to get sponsors or doing anything like that. It's like, okay, that's the guy you want to be. And but he killed himself. So my first thought, I went to read the New York Times article, and there was a link to, from a year ago only, like some books that he'd been reading, or maybe it was a few years ago. And it was like about the CIA and all these plots, and about how the French, intelligence services. I'm like, oh, he died in France. It's got to be some foul play, because I'm like conspiracy theory, and I believe in all that shit. But it seems pretty unlikely. Like everybody, was like he was very depressed. He had like dealt with depression. He had been like a heroin addict at one point. So, you just, it's fucked up. I don't know. You never know what's going on internally with people.
Yeah, it sucks. Just everyone just reach out, and there's numbers out there, but it's terrible. It is. And depressions are obviously a real thing. And this suicide rate is up. And maybe hopefully the one positive of these people that are well known doing it is just getting people to talk about it more and just create discussion.
I don't think that's going to help that much, man. I honestly think people
it does, dude.
fucking
Kids,
poisoned. I think
I know you're cynical, and I get it, dude. But
I'm not cynical. I'm not cynical. I just don't
when
think
people, celebrities talk and say it's okay that I've dealt with this stuff, it helps. I mean, it does.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
I think it doesn't need to help a great amount for it to matter. But okay, all right. If you don't think it helps,
my opinion is that people are more and more depressed now, both because of just being online all the time, social media, all this shit. Just your brain gets sucked into this dopamine addiction. And then all the foods are super poisonous and not nutritious, and people have mercury poisoning and all this other shit. And we're just living in a more and more toxic environment that's further and further divorced from how humans actually evolved to thrive. And I just think that explains a lot of depression, and people get depressed, and they get prescribed all these drugs that increase the incidence of suicides, all these antidepressants, rather than spending more time in nature, getting offline, stop eating processed food. There's so much shit. And I think, you just put a whole bunch of people under very conditions that are not suited to human beings. And a lot of them are just they're going to crack. It's tough. That's why he was so surprising, because the guy was seemed like he was, very connected with a lot of, wholesome things.
Well, I think that does matter when people see that. It's not always the people that are whatever it is that you think wearing all black or gloomy or whatever, sitting in the dark. It is the people outwardly look happy. And so I think that does matter to people. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive, and that won't help a single person. But I feel that knowledge.
People may learn more, like, oh shit, it could happen to anybody. But I don't think that, I think
I think it does make someone who's in that position feel a little less weird and maybe and more open, or maybe more likely to talk about it. But who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe it's absolutely a nothing. Moving on to even another happy. Well, maybe this is. I'm so curious about this. I'm burying the lead. Come on. Dennis Rodman is crying on CNN about this, but it's like genuine. I'm thinking about this, and I'm like. Right. Maybe we shouldn't have just totally disregarded this. This guy was risking his life going over there, and he's like super happy about this. And Trump is a handshake. Okay, the summit, man, this is crazy. I found myself up on staying up last night, clicking the updates. Right. This is, if nothing else, this is fascinating. Right. So we can talk about the G7 stuff as well. I don't know how in depth you want to go, but I got to have your opinion. Come on. So Donald Trump just went and met the leader of North Korea, and wow.
Well, I think it's funny. Like, who knows what's going to come of it, because we'll see. But first, like he said, the meeting was on. First he was like tweeting at him, insulting him, and it was like, he's going to start World War III. This is so unhinged. You can't tweet insults at a nuclear-armed leader. He's crazy. And then they started like tweeting friendly stuff, and the people were like, this is so dumb. And then they decided to make the summit, and everyone's like, it's never going to work. And then Kim Jong-un backed out, and then they were like, you see, Trump got played. And then they have the summit, and they're like, Trump got outfoxed on New York Times. Trump got outfoxed. This isn't going to work. He's meeting with dictators. He's meeting with a monster. He's validating. He's legitimizing a monster, right? Not that. And then like on Twitter, like all these other people tweeted photos of like Obama with like the Saudi king and like John F. Kennedy with some crazy bad despot. I mean, everybody's met with everybody. Stalin. They met with all those people. So that's not the thing. Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, it's good.
Hold on. There are two conversations. We can have the real conversation. We can have a conversation about how the media is going to treat all this. Those are two separate things. And that's fine. You're right. The media is totally, it's very frustrating. Sean Hannity himself criticized Obama for talking about maybe going and doing this 10 years ago.
Right. No, those guys are all clowns.
And now he's the one giving the interview to Trump and praising him. Right. And then on the flips, you could say it on the other side as well. Obama got a ton of a hard time. He went to Iran, so he did do this similar stuff. Right. Yet the Democrats are criticizing Trump now for that too. So you can go both sides about that. I don't even want to get the media. It just drives me crazy on both ends. I'm tired of that.
No. Just turn it off. I just think it's hilarious. I just think it's hilarious how the hypocrisy is beyond ridiculous. The Democrats are actually rooting for this to fail, and obviously the Republicans, if it were Obama, would be doing the same thing. But anyone who's actually a Democrat or Republican that just is loyal to that is just. They're not paying attention to the world. I just think you're just lost in some weird tribal thing that's not relevant anymore. That's the past. You're living in some other century right now. It's just not relevant. Nobody who thinks for themselves gives a shit about those parties. But it was just funny how like they keep moving the goalposts. Like at first it's never even going to happen. He's being played. This has clearly happened. So now they're moving like, well, it's never going to work. And what did they really get from him? And they're legit. They keep moving the goalposts. It's like, dude, just shut the fuck up. You always want war. They had these people. I just tweeted something. I didn't see the segment because I'll never watch cable news. That they had all these people. This guy from a think tank on MSNBC, whose main donors of the think tank are all these like war profiteers, like Northrop Grumman and Boeing and all these plane and missile makers and all this shit. And he's saying how this is terrible. And of course you're saying that. Like that's what you thrive on. All these people, the neocons and the neoliberals, they've launched so many wars. And it's like, okay, well maybe this will be a farce and it'll fail and Trump will look like an idiot, and that's fine. It's not fine. I hope it doesn't happen, but it's certainly possible. But I mean, come on, this is an unqualified good. This is something that's, and they're like, well, he's, Kim Jong-un is a horrible dictator. He's starved his people and all this stuff. And we hear a lot of propaganda back and forth about, what goes on in other countries. And maybe it's true. Maybe it's all true. Maybe some of it's true. But, it's really like not relevant to this situation, right? Like we're trying to denuclearize the peninsula, unify it, and they can figure out later whether that guy needs to be put in jail or whatever. But
hold on, I want to jump in before I forget, okay? Even on that civil rights issues, okay? Right. That's right. The leader's a horrible person, right? No one's debating that, and who cares? Yeah, Trump called him it's an honor to meet him, whatever. Yeah, he's a fucking idiot for saying that, obviously, whatever. Okay, but what if his goal, Un's goal, really is to denuclearize? And it sounds to me like he really is getting involved in trying to not make it so oppressive. Maybe that's wrong, and he's playing us all. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, as Obama says, you don't negotiate with friends. You negotiate with enemies. Right. That's what he said, right? Okay, so you have to meet with this horrible monster, but it's not even denuclearizing. What you said, that's great too. That's obviously the most important to us. But what if it also helps his own country and all those people that are living there?
Right.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just hypocritical. Like every single president has met with like the worst of the worst. And it just, if it's in your interest, you should meet.
What are you going to do? Go spit on him when you meet him? I mean,
right. No, you're going to be polite and you're going to try to achieve the aim that you want to achieve. That's
Yes.
diplomacy. And it is back to bringing it back to your original thing. It is hilarious that Rodman, and I tweeted this to Real Man, is like mediating this thing sort of because he knows Trump and he knows Kim Jong-un and he's also sponsored by Potcoin. So like that's legit, right? So you're sponsored by Potcoin, yet you're mediating a nuclear summit. And the thing is, when Rodman was still first going over there, he was treated like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, everyone thinks Rodman's a freak, so no one made that big a deal of it. But they were like, you're horrible to hang out and befriend this person. But actually, it seems like Rodman in this crazy world is actually did something good. And
it's hilarious that there's a whole, he was on Celebrity Apprentice with Trump.
Right, and Trump
so there's like a connection there too. But yeah, no, I admit I Googled Potcoin. I looked it up. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Well,
I looked
invest
up
in that now. I got to invest in Potcoin. No, I'm just Bitcoin for me, no Potcoin. But I now, it was good advertising. I'm thinking about it, Rodman was probably broke or close to it. Like RotoWire should have invested in Rodman. If he's like touting Potcoin, we could be like RotoWire, and Rodman would have a RotoWire T-shirt at the summit, dude. And then I could like be part of. I could take some credit for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Right. So it sounds like to me. I mean, you take this as a positive thing, right?
Of course. Of
course.
It is a positive thing.
Yes.
People are like, well, his motives. What's his real? Who gives a shit? Who cares what either of their motives are? Right? I mean, North Korea was something that was like, we're supposed to worry about that. Oh, they're going to launch a nuke. They're going to increase their capacity, or they're going to launch artillery at South Korea. I mean, of course it's a good thing.
Sure. Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah. I don't care. Right. I honestly, I don't care if it's Trump or Obama or whoever the hell, whatever, random person happens to be the president. Just do the right thing for the country.
Exactly. No one cares. It's crazy. Oh, I will bring this up, actually. I watch Bill Maher every week, and I actually like his show better than John Oliver. I think he's an interesting interviewer, and I like Bill Maher. I know people think he's a douchebag, but what he said is just flat out wrong.
I think he's a douchebag, Bill Maher.
Yeah. He could be both things, actually. An entertaining show and a DB. But he said something just flat out wrong. He's like, he said, I'm rooting for this country to go through succession. Sorry. He's like, he's rooting for that. He's like, that'll make it better again if we do suffer. And that is just flat out horrible thing to say.
Right, he's pissed because some of it had to do with Obama, some of it had to do with just luck. But Trump's been president a year and a half, and the economy is booming. I mean, unemployment's way down, the stock market's up, and actually, I saw something on Twitter the other day that inequality, which had been increasing all through the Obama years, has sort of stopped. I don't think it's decreased yet, but it has stopped increasing over the last year, for whatever that's worth. And it's probably got nothing to do with Trump. But at the same time, it's like, at least be glad that things are, could be a lot worse at least. It's not going great for everybody, but it could be a lot worse. And I wish like a recession, which Bill Maher, if there's a recession, will lose a few $1 million, but he'll be fine. Recessions like crush a lot of people. So it's, he's a dick, but he's always been a smug dick. I saw Glenn Greenwald, who's like one of my favorite, journalists, on there. It's just, there's no conversation on that show. Bill Maher is just so smug. You could just tell that like he doesn't engage with points of view that are outside his own. Like he does like this left-right thing, but he doesn't really engage. So the conversation is superficial on that show, in my opinion. I haven't seen the show in like 3 years, but when I last watched it, I stopped watching it because I just felt it was a superficial conversation.
Yeah, he is, without question. He thinks he's the smartest man in the room, but he often is. And to me, he's the sharpest interviewer out there among them all. But I do get that. He definitely rubs people the wrong way for a reason. I get that. Cool. Wait, before I get to my final thing I'll talk to you about, which I know is I wanted to tell you that I did watch that Morgan Freeman video that you brought up a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And that is absurd. That is not. I had to Google like 3 different things to get it. Like it wasn't even obvious thing, but it's a joke. I mean, first of all, it looks like all the other stuff. That guy probably is a creep. That's not an isolated. I've also heard other people say about that video like exonerates him, and no, it sounds like he probably all that other stuff does sound kind of.
There might be some other things, but that video is the most absurd.
But that in and of itself, and which makes it even more of a thing because that's the person who wrote the article highlighting his boorish behavior was. It's a joke. He's obviously talking about Michael Caine being like, I'd love to be, and no one gives any weird look.
But even if he wasn't, it's a real reach to just assume that's some dirty remark. I mean, I was like, what? It was weird.
Super weird. Okay. All right. Food. I've been trying to get healthier. I've been exercising. I told you I haven't been boozing. I've been trying to eat better. It's difficult where I live. I don't have a Whole Foods near me. I don't have great,
Whole Foods is shit.
I do have a local food, obviously a farmer's market or whatever. But what I came to you about was
Okay, what do you mean, or whatever? Your farmer's market, that's where you're going.
Okay, but what I asked you specifically was vitamins, because I knew you were going to say like I go to my local Safeway and get a multivitamin. I knew you were going to say don't do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I read up on this shit, and I was taking vitamin B12, which is good, and you can take that as a supplement. But I was taking the wrong kind. There's one B12 that's cyanamide or something. I don't know exactly how to say it, and it's derived from a similar compound as cyanide. And I was taking that because I forgot and I didn't know, and I bought a new one when mine ran out here. So just today, I bought the right B12, which is methylcobalamin or whatever. I'm saying it wrong, but it's something like that. And it was 18 euros, which is like $22 for this bottle. And I was like, all right, well, at least it'll last me a while. I look in, it's like almost empty. There's 30 pills in it, 30 tiny pills. I mean, Portugal's not the place. Retail in Portugal's not the place to buy vitamins, but shit was expensive. So if I were to buy vitamins, I'd probably order them online. You could shop around. iHerb is pretty good prices usually, or Vitacost.
You said the company Now, right?
Yeah, Now Foods makes good ones. They're not the only one, but that's just one that is usually good. Although it was Now Foods that I had like that shitty vitamin B. So again, like get the right kind of vitamin B12.
Yeah, well, you said a B complex, and I'm looking in there. They say B/100, B-50. Yeah. Like I don't know what to get.
100 is good or 50 is good. It's just how many milligrams in each vitamin in there. But okay. I actually think like the B12, but the methylcobalamin, I think, or however you say it, that's the one to get. Okay, you'll see there's two. One is related to the word cyanide, and the other one is methylcobalamin or something. And I know it's embarrassing if someone knows the real name of it. They're going to be like, dude, you're saying it totally wrong. It's fine. But
I wouldn't worry too much that anyone
well, no, I mean, you never know. So, but get the right kind. And like D3, don't
D3,
get vitamin D3,
ask you
not
next.
D2.
And then D3 says 1,000, 2,000, or 5,000 IU. Like I tried to look up that, and that's very complicated.
So, I mean, you might want to take like 10,000 IU, which is a shitload, for like a week, just to like load, and then you could take.
Yeah, you could take too much. You could definitely take too much D, right? I believe.
You could, but I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
code,
then what
it's
normally
not code for anything. I know you've taken too much D before. It's not code for anything though. But
that was bad. All right.
But anyway,
D vitamins. Sorry.
D vitamins. You take D3, and I mean you could like overdose on vitamin D.
Intake, how much?
I think like if I'll take 10,000 for like a couple days, then I'll just take 5,000 a day. I mean if you start to feel like shit, then back off. But I would go big.
So D3
and by the way, this isn't medical advice to people. Like I don't know shit. I'm just figuring this shit out just like everybody else.
D3 and B12 and no multivitamin. You're saying just take a D3 and a B12.
I mean, that's what most people tend to need. Like that's where people are deficient.
Right.
With all the chemicals and stuff, your system is deficient in those areas. But like
the other stuff you were talking about, like fermented stuff, like yogurt, and you said a company called Bubby's. Is that how it's pronounced?
Well, Bubby's is for pickles and sauerkraut, and it's it's better if you make your own, or it's better if you buy it local, lacto fermented, not with vinegar, but salt. Basically salt and cabbage, and the salt water ferments. It ferments in the salt water. You can make your own. You can do it just on you chop up some cabbage with salt and wring it till the water overflows it, and then you push it really hard down into a glass jar till the water is above the cabbage. Put a decent amount of salt in it for that to happen, and then close the jar and leave it out room temperature for a week, 2 weeks, as long as you want, and it'll be sauerkraut. But if you don't want to deal with making your own,
I looked up that company, and it wasn't my local Save Mart or whatever. And it looked like they had good looking like beet, horseradish, and a lot of real. It looked legit.
I mean, Bubby's is legit. I mean, it's mass produced, so it's never going to be as good as what you make yourself or what like some local guy, your farmer's market selling usually. But it's solid. It tastes good. It's not that expensive, so I mean, that's fine.
And then I like yogurt. I want something practical that's going to happen. I get what you're saying, all this best case, but I'm not really going to make that shit. I'm not going to make homemade sauerkraut. So I'm going to buy Bubby's. And the yogurt, I like yogurt as a snack, and I want it to be good. But I know the stuff I'm getting, even when I look at the best I can get at a grocery store is like Noosa or something. I know that shit is 35 grams of sugar. Still.
No,
so
you don't want that. I forget
might as well be. I mean, you want whole milk, right? You said full fat. I know you want
full fat yogurt, full fat cottage cheese. No sugar. I mean, it's okay if there's like 7 grams of sugar that comes from sort of the lactose that's still in the yogurt, but no, no added sugars, no fruit, none of that shit mixed in. But that stuff's okay. I mean, real yogurt is like just raw milk that goes sour, and they make yogurt out of it. When you start to pasteurize it, it's not that great for you. I'll tell you, if you want to get healthy, if you're serious, I mean, it just depends how serious you are, right? Like the first thing is like just don't drink like sodas and shit ever, diet or non-diet. Just don't ever fucking drink that shit ever.
Yeah. Well, I never drink diet if you paid me money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, don't drink any Coca-Cola or any of that shit ever. Okay. And don't eat like baked or like processed products like Pop-Tarts or like
anything you open, right?
Cornflakes.
Anything you open with a package is bad for you, basically, right?
And any like sugar cereal, any of that shit, just don't ever eat that. Or not even sugar cereal, like Special K. Don't ever eat that shit. Don't ever eat any of that fake stuff that's in a box. Okay. So like you should be eating meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, cheese, eggs, yogurt. That's the shit you eat, right?
No, I butter. No, I've been trying.
Butter is good. Don't eat any seed oils. No canola oil. No grapeseed oil. The only oil you eat is olive oil.
Olive,
coconut,
yeah.
And coconut oil, olive oil, and make sure the coconut oil is not, make sure they're extra virgin or organic, and make sure the coconut oil is not hydrogenated. It's just, extra virgin coconut oil.
I don't cook much, but when I do, it's just butter usually with that. But anyway, so sous vide, I've been telling you about. I cooked a rack of lamb I just got from Costco the other day, first time in my life. Easily, I have a low bar to clear, but easily the best food I've ever made. I'm going to text you pictures right when I get off. I'll get off this podcast. I seared the top of it, so I just bought a flamethrower for it. This one's not. This I just used the grill, but I can't wait for the next one. The best thing I've ever cooked. So good, perfect medium rare, just the temperature exact how I wanted. Just so good. But anyway, I am serious about this. I'm trying to exercise. I'm running. I'm doing these things called burpees, which is some CrossFit thing, which is actual exercise, which is insane for anyone who's known me the last 20 years of my life. So I am attempting to, but again, I want it to be practical. I'm not going to make something and realize that I'm limited. I might need to order something, from.
Well, first of all, don't use regular table salt. A couple of things are easy, right? Like sea salt. Doesn't have to be that Himalayan or Celtic shit. Those
I read that that's overrated and all that stuff's similar. Okay, sea salt for sure.
Sea salt, like legit real sea salt. It can be from anywhere, but just legit sea salt. Don't eat table salt. Sea salt's good for you. Table salt's toxic.
Well, yeah, that's all I've ever had. Yeah,
no seed oils, no canola oil, any of that bullshit. Get that shit out of your house. Throw it in the garbage. It's garbage.
Even though some chefs will tell you it's like, that vegetable oil cooks on a higher heat, so if you want to sear, use that. But I've just been using butter.
Those guys are going to have heart attacks when they're 60. Yeah. Okay, those are like shitty chefs.
I agree.
Don't ever cook with that shit. Okay, no sugar sodas or any of that shit. Don't drink juice very much. Don't drink a lot of orange juice.
Yeah, that's the problem. See, basically it's just water. I mean, you're going to tell me you're even going to tell me fruit. It's like even only certain fruits like berries are good for you because you're not supposed to have like bananas.
But
bananas aren't even good.
If you eat a little fruit, try to have some cheese with it. Even nuts, the problem is they have phytates that suck out your vitamins. You need to really soak nuts in salt water and dry them so that they don't.
It's ridiculous. See, that's ridiculous. If you thought like this, you wouldn't need anything. I mean,
that's how everybody wants to be convenient and have an easy life, and then they fucking get chronic disease and they die, or they live a long time, but they've got a heart problem for a lot of years, or they have a little cancer that they go to get taken out, or they go and they have little diabetes and they try to manage that with insulin. I mean, you can do it that way. You can just go easy. I mean, I have a question, dude, why should you be bothered? Why should you have any put some effort in? I mean, it's inevitable. You're going to get some horrible disease, right? I mean, you may live to 85, but your last 15, 20 years are going to be kind of rough. But hey, that's just the price you pay, right?
If I put pulled oranges from a tree outside and made you fresh squeezed, you'd say that's bad for me, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad for you in a vacuum, but like most people's sugar systems are pretty fucked up, and you don't need to spike your blood sugar like that.
So basically, you should only drink water.
Well, there's a couple things: water, tea, coffee, and then I've been making my own kombucha. I mean, I know a real man doesn't make kombucha, but I make my own. I just basically it's not that hard. You got to get the mushroom, the SCOBY. It's like yeast, and you just make some tea. You put a lot of sugar in. You put the mushroom in. You leave it out for a week. And the mushroom, the yeast consumes all the sugar and turns it sour and fizzy. That's what real soda is, actually. So you get like this refreshing soda, but it's sour. It's like a little tiny bit sweet, but it's mostly sour, and that's good for you.
All right. Okay. So is that?
Look. You want to be healthy. Let's say you're a dude. You want to shed some weight. You want to be healthy. It's really fucking easy. Okay. And you don't want to exercise too hard. You want to devote your whole life to it. Easiest thing you can do is like week 1, just don't eat after 10 p.m. and don't eat before 8 a.m. Just eat between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., whatever you're normally eating, whatever garbage you fucking eat, okay?
I've noticed that significantly in how I feel in the mornings based on if I eat late or not.
Okay, so I'm saying week 1. I'm not saying this is a solution. I'm saying week 1, not before 8, not after 10. Week 2, not before 8, not after 9. Week 3, not before 9, not after 9. That means every night from 9 to 9 you're fasting, basically. It's not a big deal. You start to after week 6 or 7, you're starting to only eat, fat and protein, no sugar before noon. And then you're, not eating anything at all after 8, okay? And so basically what starts happening is, you're basically not jacking up your sugar system between 8, there's only an 8-hour window where you're on that system, and then you're off of it for 16 hours. And you can go further, cut out the soda, cut out the stuff, start eating probiotics, stop eating processed foods. I mean, you should do all that. But I mean, literally somebody who's overweight, who didn't want to just go try to run 5 miles a day, knowing that by day 2, you're not even going to be doing it, could just gradually shed everything by just starting to limit the hours in which they eat, taking more and more days off. I try not to eat before noon a lot. I just don't need to. And then I'll eat plenty from noon to 6 or 7, 8. And then I won't eat before noon. I'm fasting 1 day a week. So I get rid of the processed foods. I'll eat the giant-ass ice cream, this delicious gelato place, the Gigante. It's the 5-scoop. Nobody ever gets it except me, with this panna on top. It's this Italian cream on the top. Very, very good. And I'll booze sometimes. Not that much anymore, but I'll get drunk every now and then. And I'll eat tons of steak sometimes. But I'm not just, I take a break. You're supposed to take a break. Your ancestors didn't just fucking have bullshit in their cupboard to shovel down while they're sitting in a chair all day. I mean, they literally took long breaks. And I read this thing that if you fast for 5 days, which I'm going to try to maybe do at some point, your organs start to lose weight. Everything gets smaller, and it shrinks down, and it's basically cleaning out everything and killing all the dead cells and getting rid of the dead cells. And then when you refeed, it replenishes you and you build it back anew. It's like a house that hasn't been renovated. Most people's bodies inside are like a house that hasn't been renovated since the 70s. And there's that sort of musty smell and that shitty, dusty crap furniture that's stale and it's depressing, and that carpet. And then so you need to give your house a renovation, man. And so
right.
Every few days, every year you should be fasting for 5 days and just clean it out with water. I mean, again, if you're fucking unhealthy and shit, don't do anything without some sort of expert supervision. Not expert, but knowledgeable supervision, because I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what's working for me. And
I got you. No, of course. And so I take a probiotic every day. Instead of taking that pill, you're saying buy this Bubby's sauerkraut and eat that as a snack. Well,
even better, make your own. But if you want to, and drink the juice from the sauerkraut too, or you can mix it in, with other stuff. Put it in your Bloody Mary or whatever. But actually, alcohol will probably kill it. But basically, yeah. I mean, probiotics are so expensive, and you can just make them. I mean, they come from the yeast in the air. Or you can just buy them.
Let's say that sauerkraut was gone, though. Would you still take the pill form probiotic versus nothing?
I wouldn't. The pill's fine. It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help. But who knows how alive it is anymore? It's expensive. It's just live your life. You don't need to.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of food, the French Laundry reservation is a week from tonight. So the next time we talk in the pod, I will have sent you some pictures, and hopefully we have a full review.
Well, speaking of that, I'm actually probably off next week because I'm going to be in Minnesota for the FSTA, and then
right.
I'm leaving Portugal for the summer, which I'm kind of bummed about.
I bet.
But it's going to be cool. I'm doing the FSTA, and then I'm going to Madison for a couple days, and then I'm going back to LA for the summer for 5 weeks, and then I'm going to Finland and Estonia for a day, and then I'm going to be back here. So next week I probably won't do it, but then I'll be in Malibu at that house for a day, probably in the end of June. And I might, if we do a Sunday or Monday, maybe a Sunday podcast. I don't know if you're up for it, but we can maybe do it from the beach deck, and do one of those.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Sunday's fine. Not football season, no problem.
Okay, well I'll see. It might be a little ridiculous, but we could try.
Yeah, that place is sick. Let's definitely try.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Anything else for me?
Oh, that's all I got for you this week.
All right, man. I'm always supposed to stop the pod in the middle and make space for the ad instead of just putting the ad randomly in the middle, which is what I ended up doing. If you like the podcast, you can give it 5 stars on iTunes. I'm not sure how that helps, but I'm told it helps. And you can also get a free subscription to RotoWire for 10 days. RotoWire.com/pod. All our football projections are up, all that other shit. It's good. Check it out if you like fantasy sports. RotoWire.com/pod. You should definitely do it. All right, man. Good talking to you. I'll talk to you in hopefully from Malibu next time we talk.
Yeah. All right, man. Later, Liss.
All right. Enjoy your meal at the French Laundry.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, man. Later.